everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as we kind of round out and end our, or maybe I should say the beginning of our year for Awareness Week. We had all last week. Those videos you guys can see and enjoy again and again. Please listen to those again and again on our YouTube channel. Please make sure that you hit the notification button and that you guys subscribe to those notifications so that we can help to raise the Google Analytics. You guys know how that marketing stuff works, and that's important. You know, we want to make sure that people across the whole entire world know what we know when we know it. And we want to make sure that you guys are available to read and see and watch and basically listen. Turn it on like a podcast on your smart TV and just let it roll. And then when there's something that, you know, catches your attention, just go back and rewind that. And then if you've got questions, I'm sure many other people do too. And we want to make sure that we're sharing that information and connecting with those researchers and everyone else that is across the world that is struggling and fighting and dealing with what we are dealing with, which is HSP and PLS. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And it's informal. I want us to go around, whoever wants to share their screen and introduce themselves. Tell us where you're from. Tell us, you know, whatever you want to tell us, even if you just want to wave your hand or you don't even want to come on screen, that's fine too. But let's just do that if everyone doesn't mind. I'd like to first start off by introducing the board members with the foundation. We have got with us today Jackie Wellman.
I'm from Iowa, and I've got some unknown kind of HSP.
Thank you, Jackie. We've got Jim Sheehan.
Hello, I'm in the Nashville area. I have SPG4, and my daughter has it. My sister has it as well.
Thank you, Jim. And Hank.
I'm from Illinois. I have PLS.
Thank you very much, Hank. And there may be some other board members that are going to pop on. As you guys know, I'm Norma Pruitt. I do whatever I can do to help this foundation and be available for whatever we need to do to get the word out, to get the research studied, and figure out what we can do to champion the cures for HSP and PLS. So again, thank you all. Let me go across the rows and I'll just call out names. It's Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine. I live in the Tampa Bay area. I have SPG7.
Thank you, Christine. Lori?
I needed to turn on my audio. Yeah, I'm Lori Renna-Linton. I live in Austria, but I'm from New York, and we just had our annual meeting, our Euro HSP annual meeting in Copenhagen, and it was a huge success. And I'm not sure which SPG I have at present.
Well, and for those of you that may not be aware or familiar, Lori is the one who is actually the founder and inventor of working with the Potato Pants Challenge. So thank you so very much, Lori, for bringing attention for what you're doing and for sending the videos and connecting us on Instagram. That is so appreciated, and I look forward to finding out more information about the meeting in Copenhagen. So thank you for joining us today. Dominica?
Yes, hello. So I I started the Swedish HSP organization because we had none, and I also work with Euro HSP together with Lori, and I have SPG4.
Thank you so much for joining us. Brenda?
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
All right, I'm Brenda Lewis, and I'm a Minnesota girl, and I have SPG4.
Thank you, Brenda, for joining us. Bob?
Hello. I have PLS. I live in California. So I'm actually going to be turning off my video because it's breakfast time here. But anyways.
Hey, thank you so much, Bob, for joining us. That's what's most important is that you're here. And yeah, whatever you guys need to do with your camera is no issue on our part. Thank you for joining us. Terry Peters.
Thanks.
Hello. I am located here in Florida, just north of Tampa. I really enjoyed the conference in Tampa and meeting you as well last year. And I have SPG4, as does my brother, and I suspect my mother had it as well, but she's since passed.
Oh, so sorry to hear about your mother.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here and in Tampa. And hopefully you may be able to join us in Washington, D.C. this year. So thank you. Stacy Fox.
I'm Stacy Fox, and I'm from Oregon, and I have SPG 7, and I just had a new grandbaby, and I hope she doesn't have it.
We'll definitely hope that that's the case. So thank you for joining us, Stacy. Catherine Hanson. How about if I come back to you, Catherine? So if you can unmute if you want to, or you can wave and we will appreciate you with a wave. But Debbie Crosley.
Hi, I'm Debbie Crossley. I have a actually a stepdaughter that had it. We didn't know what she had, and then she had twins, and when they were 2, we adopted them. So the twins have the same thing. It is SPG4 complex, started at birth.
Thank you, Deb, for joining us. Catherine, have you figured out how to unmute? And anybody else that wants to come on and speak, just unmute. I know that you don't have your cameras on, and we certainly understand that. Not an issue if you don't want to have your camera on. It is wonderful to see faces smiling back at us as we're talking and visiting with everyone, but we understand some days the camera doesn't work and some days the face doesn't work. And so we get that, right? We get that. It's hard some days to muster up that smile, but we do. And that's what we do, is to try to be encouraging to everyone. And as you guys know, the foundation has really worked really hard for the last 20 years in pulling together whatever research that the proposals have been brought in from these investigators and these researchers all across the world. And what we wanted to make sure that we did is showed you that in transparency so that you have that available on our website through either the doctors, the researchers' name and photo that we've been able to get, or if you'll go to the annual report, you will be able to download that entire document, and it will show you all the researchers, the titles, the universities that have received the donations that all of our families and hardworking people across the world that have contributed to this research. So, you know, what we're trying to do is to connect the dots. We're trying to figure out where's the gap and where is the opportunities. And that's what we've got to do is on this mission. The board of directors has just recently, on October the 15th, closed the window for proposals. I think we've gotten 34, 35 of those submitted. It's some new innovative research. It's perhaps maybe compounds and therapies and therapeutics. And so we're moving and trying to find a way to be in it to win, right? That's what we're trying to do, is we're in it to win. And we're going to try to see what we can do to make that next step, that next transition. But we have celebrated Awareness Week all month, actually. We've had a lot of opportunities to visit with folks all over the world with different daily activities that took place last week during Awareness Week. We have uploaded some of those videos that we were able to capture with Dr. Paganoni and with the hippotherapy. So please take time to look at those and visit with those and understand that. And then you can always go back and look at the other doctors. We've got a really busy schedule coming up for the next 3 or 4 months. We have some other SPF talks that we have not yet had a chance to get out on the website and to get that marketing out. So it's so encouraging when you guys come on so that we can kind of tell you these things and we can then just talk about these things without having to worry about so much about the electronics working or not working as sometimes happens. But let me tell you, on September the 2nd, what we understand is that Dr. Fink has canceled his September support group discussion. So with that being the case, the board has decided that we would pull together another SPF Talks that is open forum. So that will be, I think it's 6:30 on 6:30 Central is the time that I live in. So you guys translate it to your time zones, and I do apologize, international folks, that that's probably wee hours of the morning for you. But for those that can join, please feel free to do that. We've had a number of those. Those have been very successful, and we just kind of let patients talk about what their concerns are, what their issues are, and then we can let our families, our population, talk about some of the tidbits and nuggets that have worked for them. That might be something for you. And as you guys know, not everything is 100% fit like a round peg in a round hole. You know, it just doesn't work that way. We are all different. We're all genetically different. And what might work for you might not work for someone else. So when you're offered a thought, or what I always like to hear is somebody say, well, if I was you, I would do this. Well, you know, that's, you got to take that with a grain of salt, right? And you kind of got to decide if that really is beneficial for you and your circumstance, because it's all different. But we recognize that during last week's, or a couple of weeks ago, we've had some wonderful conversations with our international partners in talking about awareness. And what we've got to recognize, and I think we all do, is that this is not something that's just based on, you know, a county line, a border, a country border. You know, it is worldwide. If you're human, then you have the potential to have some kind of disorder or some kind of neuromuscular issue, a motor neuron disease, whatever it is that they have drilled down and is said it's a particular SPG number, or it's actually unknown at this point because research hasn't gotten it to the point of that discovery. But every day, if you guys are not setting your notifications to catch certain buzzwords on the big world wide web, then you're missing out on finding out that there are some new things happening every day. New discoveries are taking place. Things are coming to light faster than we can actually get that information out. So we're sending out e-blasts a lot. And so please let me remind you to not drag and drop us over to the spam box, because then you'll never get an email from us. Just kindly delete it and say, okay, I don't want to really know about that. That's fine. But wait a minute, there's maybe something written within. So you might want to take a glance so that we can get you guys the information as we see that it's coming. So just kind of bear with us as we're trying to get that out, which ties back into awareness. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make you aware of what we know. We're not in any way trying to hide information. We're trying to share it and be as transparent as possible. And so trying to put that information together so that, again, each one of us hear it, and each one of us understand it. Some like social media, and some like Facebook, some like just having a simple email, some like just having a simple phone call. And we get that. So we're trying to be a little bit of everything to everyone. So just bear with us as we're trying to answer all the questions that we possibly can. And then it's helpful when you guys come online so that we can talk about things. So as we recognize all of this that has been taking place and is going on, so are our international partners. Our international family and friends all across the globe have come together and have created, with the help of us as well, all of us, United States people too, we're going to transition our day. Several years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we come together as a group because we're looking at putting some of these dates on some of these federal calendars, that this would be USA HSP PLS Day, and we would then host a week of activities during this particular week. But because Dr. Paganoni and hippotherapy needed last week, it was actually very easy for us to just to kind of morph those dates to last week. But what we recognize is that in the course of all of that, our international partners want to celebrate the HSP and PLS Day as well. And so we are affirming, our board of directors is affirming that we are transitioning our day, the USA Day, to be Global World Day. So that's what we're wanting to talk with you guys about today and to share that with you. And then I want you to already plug into your calendars October the 17th. So it's that day that we will be celebrating World Global Day, World United for Awareness of HSP and PLS. And I know there are some partners on screen with us right now that probably could add a little bit of
I
information
want to say, I
to
want
this conversation. So Lori, please go ahead.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we had we had a meeting in Copenhagen this past weekend, and we put together a group of like I think three of us got together, are going to get together so that we can figure out a strategy, a social media strategy ahead of the October 17th date. So perhaps there is someone here who would also be interested in joining us so we can, yeah, all be on the same page.
Thank you, Lori. That's wonderful. And we're going to get that word out. So anybody that wants to be a part of the discussion, we want you to be a part of that. But what we want you
Yeah,
to
I
do,
mean, I don't know if there's anyone here even today, like today, who's willing to say, yes, I want to like join a Zoom meeting, try to figure out some sort of a strategy. So you can think about it or you can raise your hand right now.
yeah, and we'll reach back out to everyone again. Thank you, Jackie. We will let you guys know about these things that are coming so that if you want to be a part of that conversation, we want you to be. It's one of those probably technical conversations that talks about how do we use all of the tools in the toolkit electronically to communicate this. You know, if we had the ice bucket challenge that had happened, you know, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, then we would all, you know, be further along in being known and being seen and being understood. But we don't. And so what we're trying to do is to utilize all the other opportunities of fundraising to try to bring that awareness out, like an ice bucket challenge was a kind of a fundraising activity that happened back then. So we will let you guys know about those things, but put on your calendar October the 17th. And right now I think we were planning on that being like at 12:30 p.m. Central. That could change between now and then, but please make sure that you put that date on your calendars and then we can all come together and share in all of this. I didn't know, Dominica, do you have something that you would like to add regarding this?
No, I think Lori covered it all. Thank you, Lori.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I hope that I made it clear. Just it's mainly so that we can all be on the same page because there are many different there are people from many different countries trying to get the word out, and so if we have a strategy, that would be so much better. So we can all do the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have to create a plan and a strategy that can help bring that awareness to a global level. And that one of the things that we're doing with the foundation is that in October of this year, then we are going to be at an annual conference in Washington, D.C., which for us is where magic happens and opportunities happen so that they can understand who we are as a population. You know, right now most of our local and state, federal officials, they don't really know what this disease is because awareness hasn't been brought to it, like multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's or any diabetes or cancer or any of those other kinds of horrible diseases as well. We are still really in an infant stage in that regard, and what we're trying to do is get our hands around how many people really have HSP and PLS, and we have been phenomenally shocked by the number of people that have come on as members with our foundation, because every year it's just been significantly growing, and that to us has been a real shock. So either people are just finding out about us and know that we exist as the foundation that's raising funny money funds for medical research, or they've just found out that they have the disease. And so they are now searching. And that's what their search does, is when they go, where do you search? You search on the internet, right? And so if you put in spasticity or spastic paraplegia or hereditary spastic or primary lateral sclerosis, we want those buzzwords to automatically cause your Google to rise up in its search bar to find our foundation. And so, or any of the other international organizations, so that's what we've got to do, is to attack with a strategy on how do you bring awareness on a global level so that everybody sees it and understands it. If we had funds to hire the Fox station or the NBC or the ABC or any of those other kinds of stations to actually buy a 30-second advertisement, it would be a lot of money. It would be at least 2 proposals that we want to really study the diseases and find out what we can do as far as really finding that therapeutic cure. So we're going to be working on putting together a marketing strategy. I know that Maria with Spain, right? She has, I think, already put together 2 videos, one that is in English and I think the other one that is in Portuguese, maybe. So we're going to be uploading those to our YouTube channel as well and helping to get the word out. So when you guys see something that is about World Day, October 17th, please take a moment and click like. And if you will just do anything as far as like a comment, comments also help to raise those Google Analytics up so that people can find it and they can see it and that it's spinning in their news feed. If you could just even just put a clap or a thumbs up or a heart or anything you want to put on there as a comment, that is very helpful in that process of the Google Analytics. And then share it. After you click like, share it, then please, make sure that you do that and even tag us if you would like to. Lori, you got a comment or a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it really does make a difference if you like it, and if you even like if you put, I think, 3 hearts, something like 3 hearts, it raises the I guess, like, it's part of the algorithm, and so if you do that, it will, like, yeah, it will show to other people, which would be good.
Yes. For those of you that are familiar with how that all works, that's the kind of strategy that we're going to be putting together and working with some of our folks, which we've got people on our team that understand how all that works. And we're going to be working with pulling some of that together and then incorporating in some of that work as well with our international partners as much as possible. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Catherine, I see that you have unmuted. Would you like to say something?
This is my first time. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is my first time doing this, so I'm just gonna listen and I'll take it from there.
All
I
right.
really
that
don't have
sounds
much to
great.
say, so.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. That's what I always find, is that there's always first timers that come, and we're glad that you're here. And and the thing is that you may not be able to hit every one of our SPF talks. We do as many as we possibly can. But if you can do, and if you can't, then shout out and let us know that everything is okay in your life, and then we'll wait for the next time to see you on screen. So thank you guys again for joining us. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts?
I have another question, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Is your social media strategist, is she or he on here?
No.
Would you? Okay.
No,
Okay.
they couldn't join us today.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But
But thank you, though.
perhaps they can get involved as well in
Yep.
in having a Zoom meeting, but
Yes.
we'll talk later. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we will definitely do that.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody else have anything? Well, for those of you that are wondering why October the 17th, and as luck has it, there I think are 17 countries that have come together to be a part of this initial initiative. Let's call it that, right? And we expect that there's going to be more across the world that will want to be also a part of growing where we are and what we're doing in this awareness. But it's my understanding that the initial group chose October 17th as a way to honor the scientists who were jointly awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1906 for their discoveries concerning the structural organization of the nervous system. Their groundbreaking work laid the foundation for our understanding of the diseases such as HSP and PLS. So, 1906, when the nervous system was first mapped out, and the understanding of that was what was going to happen, what's going to take place when you look at these diseases that's happening in our nervous system. So that to me is pretty amazing that it has been since 1906 and we're still studying what's going on and what's happening with these diseases. And again, we are like amazed at how many people have joined our foundation. When we first started getting involved and working, with the online community, right? Then, we had maybe 10, 12 that would come and go or, show up and have part of the conversations. And then next thing you know, we've got, it went from that to 25. Every month it was 25, and then it went to 50. And I think this last month we had like 69 people. Of course, it helped, I suppose, that we also launched the survey. For those of you that are familiar with the survey, we are right now working with a statistician that is pulling together that information so that we can make these presentations to the National Institute of Health that will be in Washington while we're there in October. So, as you guys know, there are many institutes in the National Institutes of Health. And we believe that there are patients all across the spectrum of what we have with HSP and PLS that probably is also in those institutes represented. So what we're trying to do is to get those people that are in charge of those offices, those organizations, that they can make available the resources for research and for studying these diseases. So that is a part of the awareness that we're doing when we go to Washington, D.C. And what we're also looking at is some of you guys may have seen a muster, I call that muster, that goes out. That's the platform that we are able to communicate with our federal representatives and our senators in Washington, D.C. And what we're talking to them about is expanding the world view of these diseases needing help, needing cures. So we're putting that out, and some of our membership is inviting their members of Congress to come to the conference and to talk about the rare diseases and where funding may be, and even those folks that are serving on the Rare Disease Caucus. So we're trying to put that into perspective and to see when we can get some of those in. Go ahead, Miss Vicki. You got a comment or a question?
I have a question. You said about a survey. I have not run across that yet. Would I find that on the website?
I think it may still be on the website. Let me explain. Very good question, Vicki. Thank you so much for asking that. The survey that we did actually had a deadline of July the 20th. So it really launched for about a month, maybe a little bit more than a month. We had a team of our folks that come together that created this information, and it expired, if you will, on July the 20th, but only to the degree that we're taking the information as of that date and we are processing it with our statistician, and then we're going to produce a report. So for any of you that still want to fill that out, I think it still is circulating like in those carousel of photos on the home screen, and you can still fill that out. We're still going to collect that information. What we've recognized with the statistician is that we probably should have asked a question maybe a little differently than the way it was asked. And we recognize by some people's answers that they didn't quite understand the information of the question to know what they needed to put into the space. So that's okay. And we are looking at launching maybe phase 2 of that survey. And where do we need to drill down into that information? Happily to report that we have had almost 800 people fill out that survey. And that to us is a phenomenal amount of people to tell us what it is that you're fighting and what you are doing in this disease. You know, we didn't even really technically know how many men, women, and children were in our database that were dealing with this. we didn't know how many of those, women have PLS and how many men have PLS. So the information that you're providing to us is de-identified. That means we're not going to identify who you are in filling out this information in this compiled survey of this report or presentation. Matter of fact, you will be able to have a copy of that. You'll be able to download that, from our website once we get it finished. And if you're watching from the virtual of our annual conference, you'll be able to see that in real time being discussed and being presented at the conference. So the point was, we recognize through all the research that we've done as a foundation and as the board members that the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, they have the ability to award money, to grant money to these universities and these scientists that will study particular mechanisms of diseases. And what we're trying to do is to appeal to them that they need to take this on from the national laboratories, and they need to be focusing specifically on motor neuron diseases and what is happening with us with HSP and PLS, and to not leave us behind and not leave us out. We know that ALS has received a lot of funding in this process, and in their acts for ALS, there is written in there a little bitty fragmented portion of the sentence that says, and other motor neuron diseases.
But we
Well,
wanted the funding for ours to go up.
thank you, Jackie. That's exactly right. So our intention is to get NIH to provide us with a category that is specifically related to HSP and PLS. And what we're also finding out is that all of these diseases are very much related to each other. So it's just a matter of, shifting and moving some of that funding. But in the research, Vicki, that we found is that the NIH put together a PowerPoint presentation of a survey that they did for Huntington's disease. So what we recognized is well, we need that information for ourselves so that we can help them to understand how big our family is. And we're not as rare as most people keep telling us that we are. So that's why we wanted to be able to say, we know what our patients are fighting, at least 800 of them that have come to the table to say, here's our information. Here's what's going on. These are the medications that I'm taking. These are the comorbidities that I'm dealing with. These are the other chronic illnesses and issues that I'm dealing with. And so, our search is perhaps maybe if the national, go ahead, Jackie.
The survey was e-blasted out though to all the members, right?
Yes.
Vicki, are you a member?
I don't know if Vicki.
I registered, but I didn't register until August.
Oh,
Because I just ran across your website, and I've been I started having problems in 2020, and it took 3 years for me to be diagnosed with SPG4. And I had looked at different websites and different studies, and most of it was very medical and technical terms, and it took me forever to get through it. So I like the way you break things down on your website because it's easy to understand. When I listened to the meeting that you had with Dr. Pagiani, did I say that right?
Paganoni?
Yes, that's the one. I noticed it was all a lot on PLS, but there were things that were similar with HSP. So it was a very eye-opening experience because there was so much good information on there.
Vicki, you need to come to the open talks on the 3rd. Second. You'll appreciate that.
Okay, that sounds
Tuesday.
great.
Go back to the website and look under the Get Involved, and there's a tab that drops down that talks about an SPF Talks. And you'll see then that we will update and upload those links so that you can register for the Zoom meetings that we have and be a part of the conversation. If you want to put your camera on, fine. If you don't want to, that's okay too. If you want to add it in the chat box, then we'll try to monitor the chat box and ask those questions. So, not an issue, but we will keep that one particular page updated as we have new SPF Talks that are coming along. And we've got several others that are in the works, and we just haven't had a chance to, you know, put that information out for everybody. So just be on the lookout for those.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Vicki, for asking about the survey. And again, this is a big deal. You know, I want you guys to recognize that putting this survey together is something that the board is very committed to, because we recognize that we're all connected, and we're connected by, right, HSP and PLS. And we need for us to look together at what is it that we can be together on. Think about that. If people are saying, I have SPG4, I have SPG7, I have PLS, I've got this, I've got that, I don't know a number, then what is it that we collectively can say we are together on this? Well, we're together on wanting to get a cure. But how do you do that? And that's a part of what our understanding is that we've got to figure out what are the symptoms. Let's just pick the top 5. What are the top 5 symptoms that you are fighting? And we want the rest of the world to recognize that we have as our number one symptom being spasticity. Well, some of the other diseases also have spasticity. So we're not as rare as what everybody keeps saying that we are. We're fighting a similar symptom. And we need to have FDA to approve or repurpose medications that are also available for spasticity for the other diseases. If these other, let's say MS, Parkinson's, cerebral palsy, Huntington's, Charcot-Marie tooth, Strumple, right? All of these different named diseases, disorders, muscular issues, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are, they're also fighting a spasticity. And if they've got a medication that's dedicated for that, for those diseases, that's already been through clinical trials, that's already been through the process of approval for those patients, then our FDA should also include the opportunity, the willingness for you to try a medication that might work for that particular symptom. So that's our ask. That's our process. That's where we're headed. Among other things that are on the list, that is where we also want to make sure that you guys understand is that's what the survey was about, is to tell us what is it that you're fighting, because we know that there are some people that have SPG numbers that are going blind. And so we know that there is an institute that works on the blind. And if they have research dollars that can help, then we need to look at a researcher that has the ability to study those people that have blindness coming on. Is that some factor associated with HSP? So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Some have spastic bowels, spastic stomachs. You know, every part of the body is spastic. But then there are those institutes that are available that may have funding. And if nothing else, we're raising awareness so the rest of them understand what we're fighting and we can collectively come together. So that's really the point and the purpose of the survey, is so that we can represent you clearly in what it is that we're all fighting. So any other questions about the survey? Please let me know or raise your hand and we'll talk about it. So I want to get back to awareness. So what we determined is that in Washington, D.C., we're having this big giant meeting where we're meeting with the NIH, the FDA, and even the veterans, the Paralyzed Veterans of America. So we know that the PVA, the Paralyzed Veterans of America, they have a grant program that Dr. Boss is accessing. We believe he's been approved for, that he will be able to study HSP in patients that are also veterans. And we also know that the Department of Defense has a big chunk of money for veterans research. So we want to make sure that we're identifying, again, de-identifying, but identifying those patients that are fighting HSP or PLS that are also veterans in our military services, any branch that is. So as we see that starting to transition, perhaps maybe then if they are able to discover something that's happened with a military veteran and they are able to provide some type of a medication that might help with spasticity, then I would say that that would be something that could be made available for everyone that is fighting spasticity. So that's the kind of thing that we're trying to bring attention to and awareness to. So in DC, we're hopeful that there are going to be proclamations that we're receiving from some of our government institutions that are going to be proclaiming October 17th as World Day for HSP and PLS. So we're going to be making that presentation and that announcement at the conference. So that's going to, even though that October 17th will have passed, we're still going to make a deal about it, and we're going to be bringing that out as we continue on, because we've got to work together and show that this is not just an individualized, that it's across the board. Aw, thank you, Brenda. I'm sorry about your dad. Anybody have any questions about surveys, awareness, proclamation for World Day? Please let me know. Please raise your hand. Speak
Hello?
out.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi, how are
Yeah.
you?
Hi, this is Kathy Hansen.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, I got a quick question. All these other people, have these people gone for genetic testing to find out, what kind of HPRs or PLLs they have? Because I've inquired about that, and I've called the insurance companies. It's very, 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 expensive to do this. So, and I know I found out that I have to have a confrontation with Dr. Fink first before I proceed any further, which is kind of aggravating. But anyhow, because I hear people saying number 4, number 8, they mention these numbers. You know what I mean? To find that out, how do these people find that out? Do they go for genetic testing?
Yes.
That's my question.
Yes,
Can I just say something?
Yes, go ahead, Lori.
Yeah.
So I actually did go for genetic testing, and they did find a mutation. But they're not sure that that mutation is the one that causes my HSP. So yeah, I imagine, because Brenda, you have SPG4, yes? And yeah, you were genetically tested, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
my dad had it too.
your
But
dad had it too.
he didn't know he was SPG4. And then
Yeah.
when I found out I had it, they this Florella from Miami sent me a kit, and they confirmed, or they said I was SPG4. That's how I found out. It was free, thank God to me. Because when I found out almost 20 years ago, it was $10,000 to take a test.
Okay. Wow.
And
Okay.
insurance didn't cover it back then. So then so Miami told me I was, and then I was in a CREATE study in Minneapolis years ago, and they confirmed it was SPG4.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so you can get genetically tested, but you're not always going to get an answer.
Yeah, and the answer that you're not going to get to finish out that sentence is that because some of the genes have not been identified. So research is still ongoing. I mean, they've numbered almost 100 of them. And now what some of them have done is they've not created a number like 1 through 100. They have created other letter combinations with numbers, because that is this particular gene in your body that is attacked by HSP. Vicki, we'll come back to some more of that. Vicki, you got a comment or a question about that?
I had a comment. I was tested at the Cleveland Clinic. When I had gone in there to find an answer to my problem, they had checked for MOG and different things. And when they did the genetic testing that's when they found out it was the SPG4. But they said it is one that has not been seen before. And they didn't check anymore because their diagnosis came with you should just get on disability. We can give you medications for spasticity, and we can put what is it? The shots for the muscles to straighten up.
Botox.
Yes,
Botox.
the Botox, which I try to keep as healthy without putting things in my body that might cause me more problems. So I didn't opt to do that. So they had nothing else to offer me. But I have gone to a more holistic doctor, and go to the hyperbaric chamber, which helps with some of the issues, but not all of them. It helps with the incontinency and swelling and different things like that, but it does not help stop progression. But I just wanted to share that with people in case they have some of these problems. At least that's one avenue you can try, which does give you some help.
Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that. And what you guys are having, and as far as this conversation, we have these kind of discussions on open forum. So I want to invite all of you to come back and be a part of those discussions. And if somebody brings up something about Botox, you're going to find out a lot of information about Botox because there's a lot of people that have done that. As far as genetic testing, there's quite a few people. I don't remember the statistic in the survey, but not a lot of people have actually done the actual genetic testing. And again, it really comes down to where it's an expense, it's a cost. And some doctors are not even familiar with what is going on with HSP and PLS. So they don't even think in terms of that being a tool in the toolbox. They put you through all these other tests and copays and, things of MRIs, all those other kinds of tools that are old, they're antiquated, when really you can do a spit swab, a nasal swab, you can do a skin swab. I mean, all kinds of things now that can get that answered rather quickly. Kathy, your first step with Dr. Fink, even though it may be inconvenient, he is considered the SPF medical doctor, medical advisor for the foundation. So he has more than 30 years worth of knowledge about what it is that is associated with HSP and PLS. So that probably is a good first step to getting what you need and then getting him to help you to perhaps maybe get that test. So then you will be able to discover, and I'll come back and talk some more. Jim, you got a comment or a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of go along with that, I'm not sure why your insurance says you need to see Dr. Fink unless he's your physician. He is the, as Norma said, our medical advisor and worldwide leader in HSP and PLS. But you should be able to go to your neurologist, whoever you see, to do that and process the payment and set up the genetic testing. As it was mentioned before, it was very, very expensive way back when, $25,000 or more. Now it's more reasonable. You can go to the SPF website and look up. There's 3 or 4 different companies that do genetic testing. So check that out before you spend a bunch of money. And again, check with your insurance and make sure that because that Dr. Fink thing sounds kind of odd that you have to go through him again, unless he's your neurologist.
Thank you, Jim, for clarifying that. One of the things also I wanted to tell you real quickly about gene mutations and about the testing is that you may find out as you go on this journey, which we did. I just found out in December of 2024 that when you look at particularly SPG4 and SPG7, there are actually subsets of genes that make up the SPG4 or SPG7. So you may find that there are like 200 different subsets of particularly SPG4 and SPG7. So, if and when we get into this individualized medicine that is, whatever it is that your body particularly needs, then it's going to have to go through that channel of understanding that, yes, it's the SPG4 spastin gene, but within that spastin gene, there are some other subsets, and that separates you even more greatly. But from what we're understanding is that there are some medications and some therapeutics that are going to be known soon. We're waiting. Dr. Oscar with Drexel University has got a paper that he is ready to, that is in peer review now, that should be coming out any day. And it has some promising hope for a lot of people that have HSP and PLS, regardless of the mutation. So that's one of the things that we're all kind of holding our breath on and waiting for that to come out. And as soon as that comes out, we want to make sure that we get that information out to you guys, and it will be available on our website. So with that being said, as you guys think about the things that the foundation does and what we try to accomplish, we go back to 2024 at the Nashville conference, and we put a challenge in front of our doctors, and we said we need to find ways that we can make known HSP and PLS across the United States. And what came from that was born the Spastic Paraplegia Centers of Excellence Research Network. That network is a network of 11 locations across the United States that is setting up the same criteria, the same testing, the same information, so that when a patient comes into those locations, it's a centers of excellence. When a patient comes in that displays what we're dealing with, immediately they start thinking of HSP and PLS, and they start looking at the genetic testing that may be available to help them. So that's what right now those scientists have been working on, and they have got this to the point, and this information will be uploaded, it will be shared at the conference, and they are launching the kickoff of that CERN that's going to be bringing on more locations across the United States. I'm hoping it's going to spread like a spider web, so that every place, you know, the largest locations will be able to have neurologists that understand the criteria of HSP and PLS. This has really been a very big deal. So in the process of doing that and us launching that, what we also have done is we have created the CPATH, Critical Path Institute, that works with the government policy, scientific regulations, those things that from the top down seem to be spinning in rules and regulations that perhaps maybe our scientists can't deal with and overcome. So we're working with Critical Path to help us to locate those gaps. But what it always takes, you guys, and I'm sorry that we always have to bring up fundraising. So as you guys see that there's the opportunity to participate in any of the activities, please do so. Give generously when you can. And if you can't, then share it. And at a minimum, just share it. Jim, you got a comment or a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, just perfect timing. I just want to give a quick update. So those that may not know, our overall goal this year is to raise $1.6 million fundraising.
Uh-oh, somebody's
There's
talking.
some feedback. Anyway, $1.6 million we're going to try to raise by December 31st. Right now we have just over $800,000. So we're halfway there. So if you've given, thank you so much. If you haven't given, hopefully you can. And again, we're going to try to get that done by the December 31st. Ask family and friends. Ask anyone you know. We need every dollar counts. An example, we for the past 2 years, and we should give it this year too, we have spent over $1 million in medical research, which is fabulous. But just to give you an example, I think we had 16 research grants last year that the Scientific Advisory Board said we should be able to fund if we had the money. Well, we didn't have the money, so we only funded like 7 of them. So just because we're spending $1 million a year, that's not enough. We need to fund everything we can. So please do what you can to raise money, make your own contribution, and get your family and friends to contribute. If you work, or if your family and friends work, have them check with their employer, see if they get their gift matched. And again, thank you so much.
Well, and let me also remind you guys, piggybacking a little bit on what Jim said, is that some of you guys do fundraisers on Facebook. And that is so appreciated. Don't let me minimize that in any way. So please continue to do that. But we also have our own platform. It's under our Network for Good donor management platform, and it works kind of similar to that way, except it comes instantly to us. It doesn't go through and spin for a month or more in the Facebook world. So Meta takes that money, you know, they'll eventually get it to us. It's usually a month later. It shows up as your donations are anonymous. So we don't really know who to honor or to thank if it comes through on Facebook. But again, we appreciate any donations in any way. But if you want to go on to our website and you want to start a fundraiser, we've got a toolkit set up for you. And it is one of those opportunities where you can kind of tell your story, and you can put your paragraph together with your photo, and you can then share that link to your family and friends. And you can even say, we're doing a virtual fundraising. We're going to call it something just to make it fun and exciting and get your family and your circle to get involved in it. But it is your web link that you can then share, and it shows out to your family and friends all your story with all your photos. So please feel free to reach out to us if any of you are interested in wanting to participate that way. I think you might even be able to find it under the 5K launch. So look under that. If you've got questions, we'll be glad to send you that information, and you should easily be able to find that. The website is full of information. It is constantly being updated. I have to give a great big shout out to Dina and Hank for all the work that they do behind the scenes and putting all that information out there. We're constantly trying to find ways that we can make it more user friendly, make it more fresh, but it's kind of hard to make technical information fresh. It is what it is. And it's a matter of us trying to help articulate to you what is taking place so that you guys understand where we go from here and what are we doing, and working with these scientists. When you basically grant $150,000 per scientist on a proposal, that $1.6 million doesn't go very far. So we're trying to look and see what we can do to get the very best proposals and see what we can do to help further along what we need. And what we need are those therapeutics that can make a difference. And as what we had said earlier, there's mechanisms that are taking place. Your body is degenerating the motor neurons that's causing the problem of the spasticity. It's either overexpressing or underexpressing, right? Spastic or weakness. So those are the kind of things that are happening in each and every one of you. We've got to figure out what it is in your mechanism that's causing that. If there could be a medication that could slow that progression down, then that's going to be wonderful. If there can be a medication that can actually reverse and stop the degeneration, but create a regeneration of the motor neurons, then that could help grow your body into a healthier way while your body is not degenerating at that rate, with perhaps maybe a medication or something that could be included maybe in the baclofen pump, or in some, maybe a shot, whatever that may be, a pill, maybe it's gum, I don't know. But what we do know is that the children that get HSP 49 to 52, they usually die in the first decade of their life. And we've got a father who is also a doctor that has got his daughter on a trial of one on a medication that he and a pharmaceutical company have created, have found, and it is a derivative of ibuprofen. And he has now been able to sustain her life for more years because of him doing this trial and keeping her alive. So to me, that's hope. To me, that's opportunity, right? That's something that, what if it is, that's what we need, right? But in addition, hang on a minute, Lori, in addition to either the medication to stop the degeneration or a medication to encourage regeneration, you guys are going to have to also keep up with your physical therapy. You're going to have to try to find a way to make yourself move in some capacity. As much as you can, stand up. If you can't stand up, try to do something that causes you to move some body part, whether it's your arms, your legs, you're twisting. Don't just sit still and do nothing. In some of the emails that I've seen with some of the people that are fighting PLS, there's a tagline that says stay vertical, right? So try to keep yourself moving and going as much as you possibly can in those ways. Now, Lori, you got a comment or a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wrote into the chat that I need to leave right now, so I want to say goodbye. But I do want to ask, like, I want to speak to you like sometime in the very near future, because anyone who's interested in joining a Zoom so that we can figure out a some sort of a strategy ahead of October 17th would be fantastic.
That
So
would be
I'm
great.
going to say goodbye. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Lori. Thank you for joining
Bye.
us. Be
Bye.
careful in
Bye.
Vienna. So have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So you guys, with all of that information, I know some of you have just popped on and started joining us here, and I do apologize that we've already had the whole hour that we've had the conversation. There's lots of things that we always want to tell you about that we can just keep talking and keep asking questions. That's what you've got to do. You guys have got to keep asking questions, because you've got us to the task of trying to find those answers. let me encourage you that on September the 2nd, we're going to have again open forum, 6:30 p.m. Central, and we want you to join us. We know that Dr. Fink has already canceled his September support group meeting. We want to fill that void. We want to give you an opportunity to come together and have conversations with other people that are fighting this. So please feel free to join us, and we'll have more conversations about you and your health and what you're fighting, and we'll have a little bit of conversation about the foundation and what's going on. We want open forum to be about you. Anybody have any questions? Ken, I know you've just joined us. We're just about to wrap up. Thank you for being here. I think you're in Australia.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock over here. I had to, as this was the start of the meeting.
This is the end of the meeting.
So all right, I had the wrong time. Someone gave me the wrong time for the meeting. So I'm
Well,
sorry, I would have been in earlier.
hey, we're so glad that you're here now, and thank you very much for joining us. What we've talked about very briefly is that this October 17th is going to be considered World HSP and PLS Day. Today's date of the 27th of August has been for the last 4 or 5 years the USA Day. And what our board has decided is that we are affirming that transition to be October the 17th from now on. And we will celebrate this as World Day with everyone else that's trying to bring attention to what's going on with HSP and PLS.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hank said this will be recorded, so I'll catch up on the recording of this at a later time. So all good. All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. One of the things, Ken, that Lori had mentioned before you get off is that we're going to put together a group on a Zoom to talk about the strategy of how do we promote the World Day awareness. So we'll send you also an email and let you know so that you can get involved in that discussion.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else have any parting comments or questions? I know we've got another gentleman that's trying to load on at this time. Thank you, Vicki, for your heart. I appreciate that. I see that. I appreciate everybody coming today and being a part of the conversation. We'll continue on, and we will see you guys on September the 2nd for open forum. Thank you so much, Dominica. I appreciate that. We appreciate your being here from Sweden.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're always invited. You're always invited. All of you, you're all always invited to the table. That's what we've got to do, is make sure that everybody's voice is heard. That was the whole point of the survey, is to be able to collectively see what is it that is we're all fighting. And we know it's HSP and PLS, but how do we bring the attention to what is the major symptom that we need to have a cure for, a therapy, a therapeutic, a medication, a small molecule, whatever you want to call it, that's what we want. Because we're not as rare as they want us to believe. We're all in this together, working with the other diseases collectively. Because once you get to the point where you say, okay, well, we got this medication, then the doctors, are they going to prescribe it? You know, and then the pharmaceutical companies, are they going to make it available? Are we going to be able to afford it? You know, but when you've got a lot of people across the globe that represent this kind of symptom, then that's a lot of people. It could be easily available, like an ibuprofen tablet or, you know, some medication, let's call it. Does that sound good, you guys? Are y'all in it to win? Yes, we are too. So stay with me. We might not always answer the emails and answer the phone calls as quickly as you'd like for us to, but we're seeing them and we're trying to get to them as quickly as we can. You find a typo somewhere, just kind of blip over that typo and get to the content. Get to the heart of what it is we're trying to do, because to me, that is the most important thing, is for you guys to understand the heart of trying to champion cures and therapies and medications for everyone that's fighting these diseases. Everybody good?
Hello.
Yeah.
Great.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, real quickly. How much, I was just wondering, you know, I know it depends on the insurance, but in general, how much does genetic testing cost? And number two, does genetic testing involve a mouth swab, or they just draw your blood, or can you get a kit sent? I mean, what does it involve, real quickly?
Well, it could be any of the above that you just mentioned. So it really
Oh.
kind of depends on what your neurologist, your doctor, requires, requests, or whatever it is that they've ordered. It used to be only where you would do a blood test, but
All
now
right.
we know that there are other mechanisms to actually collect the samples from your particular body. It could be a skin sample scraped off your arm. It can be blood, hair. It can be a swab in the nose. It can swab in the mouth. Brenda said that she got a kit, so it obviously was some kind of a swab. Not likely was it, her having to stick her own blood. So
Yeah.
any of those kind of combinations would work based on, you're going to see Dr. Fink. So you just need to say, Dr. Fink, I just need a genetics test. What do I need to get that? And how quickly can we get it? And what's it going to cost me? And he
Yeah,
should
because
be able
that,
to work
yeah.
with you on that.
Because see, that's one thing I'm limited on income. My husband
Right?
passed away 3 years ago, and I'm limited on income. So I can't, you know what I mean? I'm living my own. I can't afford to get, a bill through the mail that's $3,000. That's why I want to
Right.
know, in general, what does it cost for genetic testing? Do you have an idea of that?
I don't know what the most current rates are. I just know that they're all different, and then it's based on copay. It's based on your doctor. It's based on your location. So Dr. Fink should be able to help you with that.
Oh, all right. I was wondering because, like I said, real quickly, that other guy from that foundation, my doctor down here, I live in Warren, Michigan, and the doctor down here couldn't do the genetic testing. He referred everything to in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the neurology place is at. That's why from my neurologist here, I got sent to the one in Ann Arbor. That's the direction it all went to.
Yeah, and that's where Dr. Fink is. He's
Yeah,
at
I know that.
Ann Arbor location. Yeah. And so that's kind of what, basically happens is that most of your local neurologists are not so familiar with protocol and what needs to take place and how that needs to happen. So what they do is they go and search out and they find the
Yeah.
other doctors that are more familiar with it, which is thus what we're trying to do by creating the centers of excellence so that it will spider web across the whole entire, United States and including some international countries. So that's a part of that process, and you can find out about the SP-CERN, Spastic Paraplegia Centers of Excellent Research Network, on our website, and it lists all of those locations
Locations of what to get genetic testing done, or
of the CERN locations that are familiar with that. And Dr. Fink's on that list.
oh
He's your representative there in Michigan.
yeah.
Yeah, so just talk to his office, talk to his staff. They should be able to tell you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy. Deb, you
Yep.
got a comment or a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. So the comment about meds for the person to lengthen her lifespan threw me for a loop. And so my question is, so my girls have had childhood, have had it since childhood, and so has, I mean, since birth, and so has their birth mom. And so and all this testing was done, I don't know, approximately 10 years ago or something, maybe a little less. Is there any reason to redo it? Because sometimes some doctors say to me, well, actually, there was a doctor who had HSP who said to me, I think they have something else too,
Yeah.
because apparently complex SPG4 is the rare of the rare. So
Very good question, Deb, and I appreciate that. And I so appreciate the journey and your being caregiver to your babies. It's got to be tough some days. I can only imagine. But you're right, and we found out here recently from a current board member, former president Frank Davis, that his testing that he had done like 10 years ago or so is not even accurate. And so they have gone back in and they've done a retesting of him. And part of what's happened is that technology in gene testing has just morphed with more knowledge and more ability. So some of the things that they knew back then was what we know now wasn't even available back then. So it's definitely worth a try if it's not too costly for you as a family member, or if your insurance is going to cover that, then that might be something that you might want to see about, especially if they think that there's something else there. And it could be that these new genes have been discovered.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth a try.
Sometimes it's like, does it really matter? You're going to do the same things no matter what the genes are, you know?
I mean, that to me, and I would want to know, right? We all want to know, what are we fighting? What is it? What's it called? What can I do about it? You know, again, it comes back to what are the symptoms that they are fighting, and what medication is available to help that symptom. You know, and is your doctor going to prescribe that medication to see? You know, you got to be, you know, it's a personal, individualized decision, and I cannot stress that enough. I take it and say it fast out of my mouth, but it's a heartfelt thought that you guys need to give to a medication that you found out might help some population, might help those that have this, because it is your willingness to try, right? We talk about trial readiness, but what about trial willingness? And if it is your willingness to try, you should have that option. And with some of the things that have, I mean, just like some of the studies the FDA has already done with medications for FDA, with like Parkinson's, are there any Parkinson spasticity drugs on that spectrum that might be something that a patient with complicated symptoms could also use that have HSP? I mean, you know, I mean, just common sense says that probably it would be helpful. But again, that's a personal decision. That's a decision with your doctor. We're not doctors. You know, we're not trying to give medical advice. We're trying to give you the question. We're trying to give you the thought to think about. So thank you for that. That's a very good question. And we just recently experienced that with one of our own board members. So that might be something worth visiting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. I apologize, I've got to get off, and we have got to look forward to the next time that we get a chance to visit and chat. And that next time we know for sure is September the 2nd, 6:30 p.m. Central, my time. So y'all translate that in whatever time zone you're in. We'll do our best to try to answer all questions that we can, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Okay, everybody good? Thank you. October 17th, put it on your calendar, because we will have another talk on that day so that we can talk about World Day and what everybody else is doing. Thank you, Will, for the thumbs up. I appreciate you guys. You don't realize how much I appreciate your encouragement, because without you being here, you know, we could be doing something else, right? So we need to make sure that we're getting the word out and you guys are getting benefit from the conversation. So take care of yourself. Be safe. Okay, bye-bye. Have a great day. Thank y'all.